there's no getting used to hearing Dina show me love and appreciation and everything she does for Strive. There's no getting used to that, all right? Thank you, Dina, seriously. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. Ever since I can remember, I've had a hustler spirit in me. That hustler spirit has never changed. What has changed is my environment, my goals, and my outlet for my ambition. And that has meant everything to me. I grew up in New York City in the 1980s, in the height of the crack epidemic. My mother got swept up in that crack epidemic and fell victim. We ended up getting evicted from our apartment. We were evicted and we were moved into a welfare hotel. The welfare hotel was called the Prince George Hotel over on 28th Street and Madison Avenue. Even though I was the youngest of 3 siblings, I was the only boy. So while my sisters went to go live with my relatives, my mother said, "You're the man of the house, so you come in with me." I have never seen anything like this place. The columns and the details in the ballroom of the Prince George Hotel, very similar to this room right here. But if you look up right now, just imagine and look at these columns and these ceilings and just picture graffiti written all over it, the walls cracking down, just falling all over the place. The hotel was real dirty, grimy. It was full of drug dealers and robberies every day. Crack cocaine was everywhere. It felt like everybody and their mother was on crack cocaine in that hotel. I lived with my moms in a tiny bedroom. We shared a bunk bed, and we cooked our food in a small hot plate, because that was the only place they had. There was no stove in there. I was basically on my own those days. My mother was out in the streets struggling with her addiction. She was lost. I would just go around and hope to one day find her, then I'll just bump into her randomly at 3 in the morning somewhere on 28th Street, just roaming the streets. And mind you, I was only 13 years old at this time. I would spend the next 15 years in and out of the criminal justice system from that point. At that point, I dropped out of high school when I was 9th grade, and that's barely dropping out, right? I barely made it there. I spent a year in Rikers Island. The last time I was arrested, it was by the federal government. I remember going to court and hearing my case called. The judge said, "The United States of America versus Roy Castro." Man, it felt like the whole world was on my back. I was just looking around at those mahogany woods and that green carpet, just scared for my life. You know, I knew at that point there that I needed to turn things around. That was it. That was the boiling point right there. But I did not know how. How do you do that? How do you turn yourself around? Federal jail was different from the other jails that I've been to. Gang members and drug dealers shared the space with white-collar criminals that had messed up on stocks and bonds or something. You know, sort of like this room, but legally, right? Sort of, right? A little bit. All right? In the dorm room in the Brooklyn Correctional Facility, it was mostly blacks and Hispanics were huddled by one TV in the corner watching music videos on BET. On the other TV, it was mostly white inmates sitting there watching CNBC. All right? Ah, we got a shout out, CNBC. All right. I see you. Remember me after this. Yeah. When I look around at the other TV and I saw the stock ticker, I couldn't understand it. It's like these little lines and numbers was just running down the screen. It looked like the Matrix, like Neo was just there. I was, learning how to fight karate on that screen, right? So I said, I'm on the wrong side of the table. So I called my sister, Denise. I said, Denise, I need books. I need books on anything that's going to help me understand this TV screen. Right? I wanted to get to the other side of the room, like this table, right here, right in the front. This is the table right there. So, I see you, Paul. I see. And after I finished that book, she sent me another book, and then another book. And you guessed it, another book she sent me. I told her to send me anything that had to do with stocks and bonds. Soon, I was reading about an entire world that I didn't even know existed. I started learning about names like Warren Buffett, Goldman Sachs, Peter Lynch, Paul Tudor Jones. I found a new place to focus my ambition, but I had a long way to go before I could think about channeling that ambition into something real. I earned my GED in Raybrook Correctional Facility in Lake Placid, New York. The prison was originally built to house the world's largest and best figure skaters, hockey players, and skiers for the 1980 Olympics. The one where the US hockey team beat the Russians. You remember the miracle on ice, right? We're gonna beat them again. We got them. Now, it holds criminals in cages. That big, beautiful facility is full with hundreds of inmates. I was only interested in getting my GED because I needed it to get the best job I could in jail. The one that paid $20 a month for punching holes in Army canteen bags. And that was an upgrade from $5 a month, so that was good. But passing my GED test on my first try and getting my cap and gown over my prison uniform, it was the proudest I've ever felt. And it was one of the first times in my life that I actually felt smart. I got out of prison on December 5th, 2002. I was determined to never go back to jail. But I didn't know the way forward, right? You get out, how do you not go back? I didn't know how to present myself. I look back and laugh now on how I must have looked going into these job interviews with my pants sagging and my hoodie over my head, saying, "Would you hire me, please?" Didn't work out so good. I look back and I laugh, but guess what, guys? I've always had that hustler in me, so I knew that I was gonna do something. I remember walking up and down through the Bronx over on Boston Road, and there was a string of car dealerships, and I walked into every single car dealership asking for a job. Eventually, I found one job as a doorman in a luxury building up on the Upper East Side. I had that job for a month, 1 month, before they ran my background check and realized that I had a felony, and they let me go because I didn't check that box. I must have had at least 50 interviews, and 50 times I was denied a job. I was living in my aunt's house. She was feeding me, taking care of me, and even giving me subway fare every day so I could go out and try to find a job. After nearly a year, I started to say to myself, well, I tried. I gave it my all. I did what I could do. I began to think for myself, I got to start fending for myself again, because living in my aunt's house at 28 years old wasn't it. I ran into a friend of mine who was still in the drug game, and I told him, can I hold a little something, just to get me started? But remember, no one sells drugs with an exit strategy. But then my friend's mother overheard me talking, and she said, Roy, slow down. This guy's a knucklehead. Relax. There's a place called Strive over where I live at, over in the Taino Towers over in East Harlem. Do me a favor, go visit this place called Strive. The next day I went, because I said I would, and I walked in there and they just so happened to start an orientation class. Now mind you, I just went in there to say hello and do what I said I would do. And now I'm sitting in this orientation class, and there's people from Strive talking to me, and they talk in my language, and they're giving me and showing me that there's a blueprint, that there's another way. So I stayed. Strive taught me how to present myself for job interviews, how to check my ego at the door, how to do away with that awful chip that I've had on my shoulder for all too many years. But most importantly, what Strive taught me was how to keep a job, because that's what Strive does. Yeah, you did that. So I finally got a job through Strive cleaning freezers for Edie's Grand Ice Cream. I worked multiple jobs. I saved every penny I could, and I stayed out of trouble. And during that whole time frame, I stood involved with Strive every step of the way. In my first speech that I ever gave about the impact that Strive had on my life, I mentioned about reading about Goldman Sachs in prison. A woman came up to me afterwards, and she introduced herself. She gave me her business card. Her name was Dina Powell. Love that Dina. I put her card in my wallet, and I ain't never touch it, ever. It's the best card, whatever card you got in your wallet, that's right. It's the best card in the world. I continued to work hard, and I finally had a good place to focus my energy. I worked multiple jobs and climbed the ranks for 10 long years. Then I had an opportunity to buy an ice cream distribution business. I had a vision. But there was a lot I didn't know, like simple small stuff like how to get a small business loan, how to manage payroll, how to handle human resources. This is normal to you guys, but not for me. That was hard. So after 6 years of carrying around Dina's business card, my wife finally said to me, babe, use it or lose it. For God's sake, 6 years. What are you doing with that thing, right? In fact, it was almost exactly 4 years ago in Thanksgiving Eve to today that I actually reached out. I didn't know if Dina would have any idea who I was or even if she was still working at Goldman Sachs. But she remembered me, and she wrote me back immediately. She offered me a spot in the 10,000 Small Business Program. That program helped me create a business plan, attain a business education, which helped me manage my balance sheet, my margins, my profit, and it helped me to continue to grow my business. She changed my life, and I still keep her business card in my wallet till today. Test me after this. It's right here, where it belongs. Last week, on Thanksgiving Eve, I reached out to Dina again, and I expressed my gratitude for having faith in me, for helping me to become a better person, friend, father, businessman, husband, a man that I could be proud of today when I look at myself in the mirror. And she played a part in that evolution, and it was only right that I let her know that. Thank you, Dina, for that. When I got to Strive, I was out of options. My pants were sagging. I didn't know how to tie a tie at all. Today, I didn't. I swear, I just tied a tie. That was hard. Today, I have more than doubled my company's revenue. Today. Thank you. Thank you. Getting dressed this morning, tying my tie, I was thinking about that. I was thinking about how much I can't wait to teach my son how to tie his tie. He's only 5 years old right now, and he thinks the world of me. And I'm just looking forward to that day that I sit him down and teach him a double knot Windsor, right? A couple of years ago, they asked me to join the board of directors at Strive. I'm the first graduate to ever join the board at Strive. Thank you, Strive. Thank you. But I had no idea what it meant to be a board member. So I said, thank you, but what do I do now? But that's when Robinhood came in. Robinhood offers training for new board members to its community partners. There, I learned how to play an oversight role, good governance practice, and most importantly, how to ask for money. Now, it ain't my turn today to ask you guys for money, but I'm coming. I'm so proud to be involved in Strive because I know that there are thousands of people just like me in the communities in New York and across the United States. Thousands of people who never got a shot, who, if they had a chance, would work very hard to change their lives. The other day, my daughter came up to me and said, "Dad, every time you see a homeless person, you got to give them $10. And I said, $10? It's a lot of homeless people. I said, 10? And my daughter, she's only 8 years old. And she said, Dad, yeah, because we have so much and they don't have anything. And pretty much you got $10 to give them, right? Money to her, you got it. It reminded me that we are all in this together. But more importantly, it's a reminder that we all have the power to make a difference in someone's life. And we never know what change and what can happen to that one person. So I want to say here to everybody, thank you to Strive, thank you Robinhood, and thank you all for me standing here and allowing me to share my story. You guys are also heroes. Thank you guys very much.